June 6, 1944. 05:33 hours. Omaha Beach, Normandy, France. Petty Officer Second Class Frank Miller treads water. Temperature: 11 degrees Celsius. The English Channel tastes like diesel fuel and blood. Around him, 3 other men float in darkness. Explosions ripple across the beach ahead. German artillery scream overhead. Beneath Miller's fins, invisible death waits. Teller mines, hedgehogs, Belgian gates wrapped with explosives. Naval intelligence estimates 2,400 underwater obstacles in this sector alone, each one capable of ripping a landing craft apart. Miller's mission is simple in concept, impossible in execution. Clear a 50-meter lane through the obstacles before the first wave of landing craft arrives, before thousands of soldiers reach killing range. Standard procedure says this takes 4 hours with a full demolition team. Miller has 27 minutes and 3 other men. He checks his waterproof watch. The luminous hands show 0534. First landing craft wave arrives at 0600. What Miller does in the next 27 minutes will determine whether 10 landing craft reach the beach safely or detonate in a chain reaction that kills 300 men. The clock is already running. Operation Overlord, the Allied invasion of Nazi-occupied Europe, the largest amphibious assault in human history. 156,000 troops, 6,939 vessels, 11,590 aircraft, all converging on 50 miles of French coastline. Success requires getting men from ships to shore, alive. The Germans know the Allies are coming. They've spent 4 years preparing. Atlantic wall defenses stretch from Norway to Spain. In Normandy, Field Marshal Erwin Rommel personally supervised obstacle placement. His engineers installed 517,000 individual obstacles along the invasion beaches. Underwater obstacles designed to destroy landing craft. Land obstacles designed to shred paratroopers. Concrete bunkers designed to annihilate infantry. The underwater obstacles are particularly lethal. Element C, steel frameworks topped with mines. Hedgehogs, steel beams welded into crosses. Belgian gates, heavy metal frames that tear hull bottoms. Curved rail, steel rails bent into anti-boat barriers. Rommel's engineers installed these obstacles at specific tide levels. At high tide, they hide beneath the surface. At low tide, they're visible, but landing craft can't reach shore. The Allied planners face an impossible choice: land at high tide and hit invisible obstacles, or land at low tide and expose troops to longer killing zones. Allied commanders choose a compromise: land at mid-tide. Some obstacles will be visible, some will be hidden. Combat engineers and naval demolition teams will clear paths through them. In theory, the Naval Combat Demolition Units train for this mission. Small teams of sailors, explosive experts, underwater obstacle specialists. Each team consists of 1 officer and 5 enlisted men. Petty Officer Second Class Frank Miller is 23 years old, from Portland, Maine, son of a commercial fisherman. He grew up diving for lost lobster traps, working in water so cold it stops your heart. The Navy recruited him in 1942 specifically for his diving experience, sent him to Fort Pierce, Florida, Naval Combat Demolition Unit training. The training was designed to break men. Weeks of underwater demolitions, night swimming in shark-infested waters, handling live explosives in surf conditions. 68% of candidates washed out. Miller didn't. He completed 14 training missions, demolishing obstacles, clearing harbor entrances, mapping beach defenses. All in training, never in combat. Until June 6, 1944. Miller's NCDU team, Unit 137, was assigned to Omaha Beach, Easy Red sector. Their target, a 100-meter stretch of beach. Intelligence photos showed 87 obstacles in their sector, 43 Element C frameworks, 28 hedgehogs, 16 Belgian gates, Standard doctrine said clearing these obstacles required a full 6-man team, 4 hours of work time, daylight conditions, low tide exposure. But the invasion plan changed everything. Landing time, 0630 hours. Tide condition, rising, halfway to high. Visibility, dawn, twilight, and smoke and chaos. Available time, whatever you can steal before landing craft arrive. The NCDU teams would land with the first wave, hit the beach simultaneously with infantry, clear obstacles while under fire. Survival rate projections, 31%. Miller's team landed at 0527, 7 minutes after H-hour in their sector. Their landing craft hit a submerged obstacle. The boat exploded. Of the 6-man team, 2 died instantly. Lieutenant James Patterson, killed by shrapnel. Seaman Walter Cruz, drowned when debris pinned him underwater. 4 men survived. Petty Officer Frank Miller, Petty Officer John McKay from Boston, Seaman Donald Pierce from Ohio, and Seaman Raymond Kowalski from Michigan. 4 men instead of 6. No officer. Equipment scattered across 50 meters of seafloor, and the first wave of main landing craft was 33 minutes away. Each landing craft carried 36 soldiers. 10 landing craft were assigned to use the lane Miller's team was supposed to clear. 360 men depending on 4 swimmers. Standard procedure said abort, swim to shore, join the infantry assault, try to survive. But Miller made a different choice. What Miller decided in that moment, floating in freezing water, watching his officer die, knowing 300 men depended on him, would change how the Navy thought about combat demolition forever. But first, he had to survive the next 27 minutes, 0534 hours. Miller surfaces, looks for his team. McKay appears 10 meters to his left. Pierce surfaces 15 meters beyond McKay. Kowalski is nowhere visible. Miller dives. The water is murky with sediment and diesel. Visibility, less than 2 meters. He finds Kowalski tangled in debris from the destroyed landing craft. He cuts him free with his dive knife. Both men surface. 4 swimmers. 4 men who've never led a combat mission. 4 men who've just watched their friends die.
Miller makes the call. We clear the lane. McKay's response is immediate. We don't have the equipment. We use what we can find. We have 26 minutes. Pierce looks toward the beach. German machine gun fire rip across the waterline. Artillery shells explode in the surf. We'll die trying. Miller's voice is flat. We die anyway. At least this way. It means something. The 4 swimmers spread out. They dive, searching for their scattered equipment. Each NCDU swimmer carries specific gear. Haversacks with C2 explosive charges, primacord detonating cord, waterproof fuses, wire cutters, marking flags. Miller's haversack is gone, lost in the explosion. He finds Pierce's haversack, still sealed. 8 blocks of C2 explosive, 200 feet of primacord, 12 waterproof fuses. Not enough to clear 87 obstacles, but enough to clear some. Miller does the mathematics. 16 blocks clears 8 obstacles. 8 obstacles in a 100-meter sector means gaps. Gaps mean landing craft hit remaining obstacles, explosions, deaths, unless Miller surfaces, gathers the others. We're not clearing random obstacles. We're clearing a lane. One path, 50 meters wide, shortest route to shore. McKay understands immediately. We mark the lane boundaries, let remaining obstacles guide the boats. Exactly. We clear the center line, flag the sides, create a corridor. Pierce does his own calculations. 50-meter lane, maybe 20 obstacles in the direct path. We don't have explosives for 20. Then we choose. Biggest threats first. Belgian gates that'll rip hulls. Element C frameworks with mines. We leave the hedgehogs. Landing craft can push through those. It's improvisation, not doctrine, not training. But it might work. 0541 hours. 19 minutes until landing craft arrive. Miller leads the four-man team toward the beach, swimming through a combat zone. Above them, tracers cross the sky. German mortars explode in the surf. American naval guns hammer defensive positions. The noise is apocalyptic. They reach the obstacle field. Element C frameworks rise from the seafloor like prehistoric skeletons. Each framework is 3 meters tall. Steel beams welded together, topped with teller mines, touch-sensitive, designed to detonate on contact with boat hulls. The current rocks the frameworks. The mines sway. One mistake, and the swimmer dies. Miller approaches the first framework. He examines the mine. German teller mine 42, 5 kilograms of TNT. Pressure fuse. Standard defusing procedure takes 4 minutes per mine. They don't have 4 minutes per mine. Miller makes another decision. We don't defuse them. We detonate them. The logic is brutal, but sound. Defusing is slow. Detonation is instant. Detonate the mines in controlled sequence. Clear the obstacles through destruction. Accept the noise and flash. Hope the Germans think it's random artillery. But there's a problem. Detonating mines underwater creates shock waves. Shock waves that can rupture lungs, kill swimmers within 10 meters. Miller establishes a new procedure. 1 swimmer places charges. 3 swimmers retreat to 30 meters distance. Charges detonate. All 4 swimmers advance. Repeat. It's slower than simultaneous work, but it's survivable. Probably 05:48 hours. 13 minutes remaining. Miller attaches his first charge. 2 blocks of C2, wrapped around the element C framework's base. Primacord connecting to a 30-second fuse. He lights the fuse, swims away. McKay, Pierce, and Kowalski are already retreating. Miller reaches them. They dive, surface underwater breathing, fins pointed toward the explosion, maximum distance from the shock wave. The explosion is muffled underwater, a deep concussive thump. Pressure wave rolls past, squeezes their chests. Feels like being punched. But they survive. They surface. The element C framework is gone. Twisted metal scattered across the seafloor. The mine detonated. 1 obstacle cleared. 19 to go. They develop a rhythm. Miller and McKay place charges. Pierce and Kowalski handle security and equipment. Every 3 minutes, another explosion. Every 3 minutes, another obstacle destroyed. The German defenders notice. At 05:51, machine gun fire focuses on the water. Bullets snap past the swimmers. Most pass overhead. Some strike close enough to feel. The swimmers dive, work underwater, surface only to breathe. 05:54 hours. 6 minutes remaining. 7 obstacles cleared. But problems are mounting. They're running out of explosives. 8 blocks of C2 remaining. And Kowalski is injured. A piece of shrapnel from an artillery strike embedded in his left shoulder. He's losing blood. His swimming is getting slower. Miller makes another call. Kowalski, you're done. Get to shore. I can keep going. You're bleeding in the water. You're a liability. Go. Kowalski wants to argue, doesn't. He knows Miller is right. He strikes out for the beach, swimming one-armed, leaving 3 men to finish the mission. 3 swimmers, 6 minutes, 8 blocks of explosive, 13 obstacles remaining in the lane path. Impossible mathematics. Miller adjusts again. We're not clearing 13 obstacles. We're clearing the absolute minimum. Belgian gates only. Those will sink landing craft. Everything else gets flagged. They identify 5 Belgian gates in the direct lane path. Heavy metal frames, angled to catch boat holes, rip them open, sink them in seconds. 5 gates, 8 blocks of C2. 1 block per gate won't guarantee destruction, but it might weaken them enough, might let landing craft push through. might. 0596 hours. 4 minutes remaining. Miller and Mackay work in synchronized desperation, placing charges on Belgian gates, 1 block per obstacle. No time for careful placement, just attach and move. Pierce swims the lane boundaries, placing marker flags, orange panels on floats, visible from landing craft, showing the safe corridor. 0598 hours. 2 minutes remaining. Last charge placed. Miller lights the fuse. All 3 swimmers retreat. The explosion chain begins. 5 Belgian gates detonate in sequence. Boom, 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 boom. Water columns rise. Metal fragments fly. Shock waves roll across the beach approach. 0519 hours. 1 minute remaining. Miller surfaces, looks toward the horizon. Landing craft are visible. Bow ramps cutting through waves. Coming fast. 10 boats in formation. 360 men. All depending on a 50-meter corridor, marked by orange flags, cleared by 3 exhausted swimmers in 27 minutes. Miller, Mackay, and Pierce swim to the lane's edge. They can't reach shore. German fire's too heavy. They float at the lane boundary, watching, waiting, praying their improvised clearance works. The landing craft were 300 meters out. Miller had no idea if he'd cleared enough obstacles, if the charges had weakened the Belgian gates sufficiently, if the orange flags were visible through the smoke. In 60 seconds, he'd know if 360 men lived or died because of his decisions. 0600 hours. The first landing craft enters the lane. Call sign, Able 6. Coxswain, Petty Officer Gerald Thompson. 36 soldiers of the 116th Infantry Regiment packed inside. Thompson sees the orange markers, steers between them. The boat's speed, 12 knots. Distance to shore, 240 meters. Time to beach, 72 seconds. Miller watches from the water. Mackay beside him. Pierce 10 meters away. They're helpless now. Everything depends on whether their work was enough. The landing craft passes over where Element C framework stood. Nothing. No explosion. The obstacles are gone. 50 meters. The landing craft approaches the Belgian gate zone. Miller can see the damaged gates below, twisted by explosions, but not completely destroyed, still present, still dangerous. The landing craft's bow hits the first damaged gate. Metal scrapes against metal, a grinding sound audible even through the battle noise. The boat shudders, slows, but doesn't stop. The weakened gate bends, breaks, gives way. The landing craft pushes through. 30 meters, second damaged gate. Same grinding impact, same shudder, same result. The gate fails. The landing craft continues. Thompson drives the boat hard, maximum throttle, forcing through obstacles that should destroy him. But the obstacles had been weakened. Just enough. The landing craft hits the beach. Bow ramp drops. 36 soldiers pour out, into machine gun fire, into artillery, into hell. But they're on the beach, not dead in the water, not drowning in a sinking boat, on the beach and fighting, because 3 swimmers cleared a path. 0601 hours. Second landing craft enters the lane. Call sign, Able 7. Follows Able 6's path, passes safely through the cleared section, hits a damaged Belgian gate. The gate holds momentarily. The landing craft's momentum carries it through. Metal tears, but the hull holds. The landing craft reaches shore. Another 36 men land safely. Third landing craft, fourth, fifth. Each one follows the marked corridor. Each one pushes through weakened obstacles. Each one,
delivers its load of infantry.
Not all survive unscathed. Landing craft Able 9 hits an obstacle Miller's team missed, a hedgehog hidden by murky water. The steel beams puncture the bow. Water floods in. But the boat is close enough. The coxswain beaches it before sinking. Soldiers wade through waist-deep water, but they make it. 0604. 8 landing craft have successfully transited the lane. 2 more approaching. Miller continues watching. His body is shutting down. Hypothermia setting in. He's been in 11-degree water for 37 minutes. His hands are numb. His thinking is slowing. McKay is worse. His lips are blue. His movements sluggish. Pierce looks barely conscious. But they can't leave yet. If the last 2 landing craft fail, the lane closes. Follow-on waves will avoid it. We'll try other approaches. We'll hit more obstacles. We'll die in greater numbers. The swimmers must see this through. Landing craft Able 10 enters the lane. This boat is different. It's carrying combat engineers, demolition equipment, follow-on clearance teams. The boat that will expand the lane Miller started. It must get through. Able 10's coxswain is cautious. He's seen the other boats hit obstacles. He reduces speed, 8 knots instead of 12. More control, less momentum, a safer approach. But slower speed means more time in the killing zone. German gunners have found their range. Machine gun fire concentrates on Able 10. Bullets punch through the hull. 1 soldier falls, then another. The coxswain stays on course, between the orange markers, through the corridor of death. The landing craft hits the first Belgian gate. At 8 knots, there's insufficient momentum. The weakened gate holds. The boat stops, dead in the water, surrounded by obstacles, under heavy fire. Miller makes his last decision of the mission. We push it through. McKay looks at him. We can't push a landing craft. We can push the gate, finish breaking it, let the boat through. The shrapnel will kill us. Maybe, but those engineers will definitely die if we don't. Miller, McKay, and Pierce dive. They swim toward the stalled landing craft, toward the Belgian gate holding it, toward the German fire concentrating on the boat. It's suicide, but it's necessary. They reach the gate. The structure is damaged but intact. The welds weakened, created stress fractures, but didn't break it completely. The 3 swimmers position themselves, hands on the gate's frame, feet against solid obstacles for leverage. They push. Metal groans, welds crack, but the gate holds. Above them, bullets hit the water, snap past their heads. 1 round hits McKay's diving tank, punctures it. Air bubbles stream out. McKay keeps pushing. The landing craft's engine revs. The coxswain applies throttle, adding mechanical force to human effort. The combination works. The gate's welds fail. The structure collapses. The landing craft surges forward. The 3 swimmers scatter, diving away from the collapsing metal, away from the moving landing craft. Not all survive unscathed. Landing craft Able 9 hits an obstacle Miller's team missed, a hedgehog hidden by murky water. The steel beams puncture the bow. Water floods in. But the boat is close enough. The coxswain beaches it before sinking. Soldiers wade through waist-deep water, but they make it. 0604 hours. 8 landing craft have successfully transited the lane. 2 more approaching. Miller continues watching. His body is shutting down, hypothermia setting in. He's been in 11-degree water for 37 minutes. His hands are numb. His thinking is slowing. McKay is worse. His lips are blue, his movements sluggish. Pierce looks barely conscious. But they can't leave yet. If the last 2 landing craft fail, the lane closes. Follow-on waves will avoid it. We'll try other approaches. We'll hit more obstacles.
will die in greater numbers. The swimmers must see this through. Landing craft Able 10 enters the lane. This boat is different. It's carrying combat engineers, demolition equipment, follow-on clearance teams. The boat that will expand the lane Miller started. It must get through. Able 10's coxswain is cautious. He's seen the other boats hit obstacles. He reduces speed. 8 knots instead of 12. More control, less momentum. A safer approach. But slower speed means more time in the killing zone. German gunners have found their range. Machine gun fire concentrates on Able 10. Bullets punch through the hull. One soldier falls, then another. The coxswain stays on course, between the orange markers, through the corridor of death. The landing craft hits the first Belgian gate. At 8 knots, there's insufficient momentum. The weakened gate holds. The boat stops, dead in the water, surrounded by obstacles, under heavy fire. Miller makes his last decision of the mission. We push it through. McKay looks at him. We can't push a landing craft. We can push the gate, finish breaking it, let the boat through. The shrapnel will kill us, maybe, but those engineers will definitely die if we don't. Miller, McKay, and Pierce dive. They reach the stalled landing craft, toward the Belgian gate holding it, toward the German fire concentrating on the boat. It's suicide, but it's necessary. They reach the gate. The structure is damaged, but intact. The explosion weakened the welds, created stress fractures, but didn't break it completely. The 3 swimmers position themselves, hands on the gate's frame, feet against solid obstacles for leverage. They push. Metal groans, welds crack, but the gate holds. Above them, bullets hit the water, snap past their heads. One round hits McKay's diving tank, punctures it. Air bubbles stream out. McKay keeps pushing. The landing craft's engine revs. The coxswain applies throttle, adding mechanical force to human effort. The combination works. The gate's welds fail. The structure collapses. The landing craft surges forward. The 3 swimmers scatter, diving away from the collapsing metal, away from the moving landing craft.
Pierce isn't fast enough. The boat's propeller catches his fin, rips it off his foot, cuts a gash in his calf. Blood clouds the water, but he's alive. Landing craft Able 10 reaches the beach. Ramp drops. Combat engineers run out. They carry more explosives, more primacord, more marking flags. They'll expand the lane, clear more obstacles, make the corridor wider, safer. But only because Miller's team opened it first. 06:07 hours. Landing craft Able 11, the last boat of the first wave. It transits without incident, passes through the cleared lane, pushes through the collapsed Belgian gates, reaches shore, delivers 36 more soldiers. 10 landing craft, 360 men, all delivered through a 50-meter corridor, cleared by 4 swimmers in 27 minutes, under fire, in freezing water, using improvised techniques against obstacles designed to be unbreakable. Miller surfaces, looks for McKay and Pierce. Both are still alive, barely. Pierce is bleeding badly. McKay's punctured tank means he can't dive. Miller's own body is failing. Hypothermia is critical. They need to reach shore, now. The 3 swimmers strike out, toward the beach, toward the machine gun fire, toward the only chance of survival. They swim through the lane they cleared, past the destroyed obstacles, past the collapsed Belgian gates, past the landing craft disgorging soldiers. 50 meters from shore, Miller's arms stop working. Hypothermia has shut down his muscles. He can't swim, can't move. He floats, sinking. McKay reaches him, grabs his equipment harness, starts towing, but McKay is nearly as exhausted. He's towing 170 pounds of dead weight through combat conditions with a punctured air tank.
He makes 20 meters, then stops, can't continue. Both men start to sink. Pierce reaches them. He's bleeding, one fin missing, but he's still functional. He grabs Miller's other arm. Together, he and Mackay tow Miller toward shore, inch by inch, meter by meter. 06:14 hours. 3 swimmers reach the waterline. Infantry soldiers pull them from the surf, drag them onto the beach, behind a destroyed tank. Minimal cover, but better than the water. A Navy corpsman appears, checks all 3 men. Miller, severe hypothermia, multiple lacerations, near drowning. Mackay, hypothermia, possible lung damage from shock waves. Pierce, hypothermia, severe laceration to left calf, blood loss. The corpsman works fast, thermal blankets, pressure bandages, plasma transfusion for Pierce. Miller's consciousness fades, his last coherent thought, the lane is open, the men are ashore, the mission is complete. Then, darkness. Miller woke up 36 hours later in a field hospital ship. He had no memory of being evacuated from the beach, no memory of the next wave of landing craft using his lane, no memory of the combat engineers who expanded the corridor he'd started. But he would remember what happened next, the moment he learned what his 27 minutes had accomplished. June 8, 1944, 08:20 hours. Hospital ship USS Acadia, anchored off Normandy coast. Miller opens his eyes. White ceiling, swaying with ship movement. His body feels like lead. His throat is raw. His hands are wrapped in bandages. A Navy nurse notices he's awake. "Welcome back, Petty Officer. You've been out for a while." Miller's voice is a whisper. "How long?" 36 hours. You were hypothermic. Core temperature was 31 degrees when they brought you aboard. Another 20 minutes, you'd have died. The others, Mackay, Pierce, Kowalski, all alive. Kowalski's in surgery for his shoulder. Pierce needed 70 stitches in his leg. Mackay has fluid in his lungs, but they'll recover. Miller closes his eyes. 4 men survived, 2 didn't. Patterson and Cruz, dead in the first 30 seconds. The mathematics of war. 6 became 4. 4 became 3. 3 became barely alive, but alive. June 9th, 1944. Miller is transferred to a recovery ward. He can walk now, slowly. His frostbitten hands are healing. 3 fingers on his right hand are still numb. Might be permanent nerve damage. Too soon to know. A naval officer enters the ward. Commander Richard Walsh, Naval Combat Demolition Unit Commander. "Petty Officer Miller, how are you feeling?" "Like I drowned, sir." "You nearly did. The corpsman's report says you were clinically dead when they got you in the boat. Heart stopped. They resuscitated you." Miller didn't know that. "I don't remember, sir." Walsh pulls up a chair. "I need to debrief you, your mission, what happened, how you cleared the lane." Miller recounts the events, the explosion, Patterson and Cruz dying, the decision to continue, the improvised clearance procedure, the selective targeting, the manual gate pushing. All of it. Walsh listens without interrupting. When Miller finishes, Walsh is quiet for a long moment. "Petty Officer, you violated every doctrine we have." Miller's stomach drops. "Sir, You didn't wait for full team assembly. You didn't abort when your officer died. You didn't follow the prescribed clearance sequence. You improvised demolition techniques without authorization. You exposed yourself to excessive risk pushing that gate manually." Miller says nothing, waiting for the disciplinary hammer. Walsh continues. "And because you violated every doctrine, 360 men made it ashore alive. Follow-on waves used your lane. By 1200 hours on D-Day, 47 landing craft transited your corridor, 1,692 soldiers. Total casualties in your lane during the first 6 hours, 17 wounded, 0 killed in landing craft. Do you understand what that means?" "No, sir." "It means you had the best clearance record of any NCDU team on Omaha Beach. Every other lane had multiple landing craft destroyed, casualties in the hundreds. Your lane had 0 craft losses.
Miller struggles to process this. Sir, we only cleared partial obstacles. We didn't follow procedure. You improvised. You adapted. You accomplished the mission objective with 10% of standard resources in 27 minutes. That's not failure, petty officer. That's exactly what we need these units to do. Walsh stands. You're being recommended for the Silver Star. So are McKay and Pierce. Kowalski gets a Bronze Star, and we're completely rewriting NCDU doctrine based on your mission. Sir? Selective clearance, corridor methodology, manual obstacle manipulation, risk-calculated improvisation, all going into the new training manual. What you did on June 6th becomes standard procedure. Still, Miller can't quite believe it. Sir, Patterson and Cruz, they died because I made mistakes. They died because a landing craft hit an obstacle in a combat zone, not because of anything you did or didn't do, but 1,700 men lived because of what you did after they died. Remember that. June 15, 1944. Miller, McKay, Pierce, and Kowalski are reunited in the recovery ward. 4 survivors. Kowalski's shoulder is bandaged but functional. Pierce walks with crutches. McKay still coughs occasionally. Miller's hands are mostly healed. They don't talk much about June 6th. The memories are too fresh, too raw. But McKay says something that stays with them all. I keep thinking about Patterson, what he'd say about us breaking all his rules. Pierce smiles slightly. He'd court-martial us, then buy us drinks, in that order. July 1944, the 4 men are deemed fit for duty, but not combat duty. They're reassigned to Fort Pierce, Florida, Naval Combat Demolition Unit Training Command. Instructors, teaching new recruits, passing on lessons learned, paid for in blood. Miller's first class is 36 candidates. He stands before them, 24 years old, Silver Star on his chest, bandages still visible on his hands. I'm going to teach you how to clear beach obstacles, the way we actually do it in combat, not the way the manual says, because in combat, the manual goes in the water and you adapt or you die. Over the next 8 months, Miller trains 412 NCDU candidates. Each one learns the Omaha Beach lessons: selective clearance, corridor methodology, improvised techniques, risk calculation, the doctrine that came from 27 minutes of desperation. The impact spreads. September 1944, NCDU teams in southern France use corridor clearance at Saint-Tropez. February 1945, NCDU teams at Iwo Jima adapt Miller's methods for coral reef obstacles. April 1945, NCDU teams at Okinawa successfully clear 17 beach lanes using selective targeting doctrine. By war's end, naval combat demolition units have evolved, from rigid doctrine followers to adaptive problem solvers. The culture shift starts on Omaha Beach, in 27 minutes, with 4 swimmers who refused to follow the rules because the rules didn't account for reality. The naval combat demolition units became something different after D-Day. Not all survive unscathed. Landing craft Able 9 hits an obstacle Miller's team missed, a hedgehog hidden by murky water. The steel beams puncture the bow. Water floods in. But the boat is close enough. The coxswain beaches it before sinking. Soldiers wade through waist-deep water, but they make it. 0604. 8 landing craft have successfully transited the lane, 2 more approaching. Miller continues watching. His body is shutting down. Hypothermia setting in. He's been in 11-degree water for 37 minutes. His hands are numb. His thinking is slowing. McKay is worse. His lips are blue. His movements sluggish. Pierce looks barely conscious.
But they can't leave yet. If the last 2 landing craft fail, the lane closes. Follow-on waves will avoid it. We'll try other approaches. We'll hit more obstacles. We'll die in greater numbers. The swimmers must see this through. Landing craft Able 10 enters the lane. This boat is different. It's carrying combat engineers, demolition equipment, follow-on clearance teams. The boat that will expand the lane Miller started. It must get through. Able 10's coxswain is cautious. He's seen the other boats hit obstacles. He reduces speed, 8 knots instead of 12. More control, less momentum, a safer approach. But slower speed means more time in the killing zone. German gunners have found their range. Machine gun fire concentrates on Able 10. Bullets punch through the hull. One soldier falls, then another. The coxswain stays on course, between the orange markers, through the corridor of death. The landing craft hits the first Belgian gate. At 8 knots, there's insufficient momentum. The weakened gate holds. The boat stops, dead in the water, surrounded by obstacles, under heavy fire. Miller makes his last decision of the mission. We push it through. McKay looks at him. We can't push a landing craft. We can push the gate, finish breaking it, let the boat through. The shrapnel will kill us. Maybe, but those engineers will definitely die if we don't. Miller, McKay, and Pierce dive. They swim toward the stalled landing craft, toward the Belgian gate holding it, toward the German fire concentrating on the boat. It's suicide, but it's necessary. They reach the gate. The structure is damaged but intact. The welds weakened, created stress fractures, but didn't break it completely. The 3 swimmers position themselves, hands on the gate's frame, feet against solid obstacles for leverage. They push. Metal groans, welds crack, but the gate holds. Above them, bullets hit the water, snap past their heads. One round hits McKay's diving tank, punctures it. Air bubbles stream out. McKay keeps pushing. The landing craft's engine revs. The coxswain applies throttle, adding mechanical force to human effort. The combination works. The gate's welds fail. The structure collapses. The landing craft surges forward. The 3 swimmers scatter, diving away from the collapsing metal, away from the moving landing craft. Donald Pierce became a civil engineer, designed harbor facilities, applied his understanding of underwater obstacles to civilian port construction. His firm's safety record was exceptional. He attributed it to lessons learned on Omaha Beach. When you've pushed through Belgian gates under machine gun fire, civilian safety protocols seem pretty straightforward. Raymond Kowalski returned to Michigan, became a high school teacher, taught history. Every June 6th, he told his students about D-Day. Not about the big picture, about 4 swimmers, about 27 minutes, about doing impossible things because someone has to. Frank Miller died in 2003, age 82. His obituary mentioned his Silver Star, his NCDU service, his fishing career. It didn't capture the full story, how 4 men changed naval doctrine, how 27 minutes saved 1,700 lives, how improvisation became standard procedure, but the Navy remembers. At the Naval Special Warfare Center in Coronado, California, where SEALs train, there's a memorial wall. Names of special warfare personnel killed in action. At the wall's base, a plaque. It reads, "In memory of the Naval Combat Demolition Units, who cleared the beaches, who opened the lanes, who made the impossible possible. June 6, 1944. Below that, 4 names. Lieutenant James Patterson, Seaman Walter Cruz, killed in action, Omaha Beach." The reminder that courage has costs, and some pay everything. There is something profound about 27 minutes. It's not a long time, half an episode of a television show, a short commute, a quick meeting. But in 27 minutes, 4 men redefined what was possible. The experts said the harbor was mined. They were right. The intelligence officers said the obstacles were too numerous. Also right. But Frank Miller and 3 other swimmers proved something more important than being right. They proved that impossible is a judgment, not a fact. When Patterson and Cruz died, Miller could have quit. Nobody would have blamed him. Nobody would have called it cowardice. Surviving an exploding landing craft and swimming to shore takes courage enough. But Miller chose differently. He chose 27 more minutes. 27 minutes of freezing water, of machine gun fire, of improvising demolition techniques, of pushing through obstacles designed to be impassable. We remember D-Day for the big picture. 156,000 troops, 5,000 vessels, the turning point of the war. These numbers are true and important, but they obscure something equally important. Those 156,000 troops landed because thousands of individuals did impossible things in small moments.
Coxswains navigating through obstacles, medics treating wounds under fire, radio operators maintaining communication while being shelled, and 4 swimmers clearing a lane nobody thought could be cleared. There is no monument on Omaha Beach marking Miller's lane, nothing showing where 4 men worked for 27 minutes, where Patterson and Cruz died, where McKay's tank was punctured, where Pierce lost his fin, where Miller's heart stopped from hypothermia, just water and sand, the same as the rest of the beach. But every Navy SEAL who graduates training walks in Miller's footsteps. Every special warfare operator who improvises under pressure applies his lessons. Every swimmer who pushes through impossible obstacles follows his example. The legacy isn't carved in stone, it's written in doctrine, taught in schools, lived in operations. In 2019, a group of Navy SEALs returned to Omaha Beach. They swam the approach Miller's team took. They examined where obstacles would have been. They timed themselves, clearing a simulated lane. With full equipment, full team, no combat stress. Their time, 42 minutes. Miller did it in 27, with 4 men instead of 6, with 16 explosive blocks instead of full load, under machine gun fire, in freezing water, while hypothermic. The SEALs stood on the beach afterward. One of them said, "How the hell did they do it?" The answer? They had no choice, so they found a way. That's the real lesson of June 6, 1944. Not that heroes are superhuman, but that ordinary people become extraordinary when circumstances demand it. Miller was a fisherman's son from Maine. McKay was a mechanic from Boston. Pierce was a factory worker from Ohio. Kowalski was a farmer from Michigan. Nothing in their backgrounds suggested they'd rewrite naval doctrine, but when 1,700 men needed a lane cleared, when 27 minutes was all the time available, when doing the impossible was the only option, they did it. To Lieutenant James Patterson and Seaman Walter Cruz, who died in the first 30 seconds, whose sacrifice enabled everything that followed. To Petty Officer John McKay, who towed a dying man to shore, who pushed Belgian gates with his bare hands. To Seaman Donald Pierce, who swam through obstacles with a severed fin and bleeding leg, who never quit. To Petty Officer Raymond Kowalski, who cut himself free from wreckage, who worked one-armed, who survived to teach the next generation. And to Petty Officer Frank Miller, who made the impossible decision to continue, who improvised when doctrine failed, who proved that 27 minutes can change everything. Your lane is still open, not on the beach, but in the hearts of everyone who learns what determination can accomplish. The experts said the harbor was mined.
They were right. 4 swimmers opened a lane anyway, in 27 minutes, under fire, against impossible odds, because some things are more important than impossible. Some things are worth 27 minutes of everything you have. Some things are worth dying for. And sometimes, if you're very lucky and very brave, worth living for.